On today's Fantastic Friday episode, I talk about how I overcame loneliness in entrepreneurship. If you like this episode, be sure to hit the subscribe button so you can get notified every time a new episode is released. How many times have you heard a coach, a thought leader, a world-famous entrepreneur say the words, entrepreneurship is lonely? But that's all that they say. How many times have you heard something like that? I know if you've listened to this show, you've heard that in the past. You've heard me say something to that effect. That's about where people stop. And I'm not a mental health expert, and so I'm not going to talk about all about mental health. But I will talk about the importance of finding remedies to this. There is absolutely no reason to be lonely in entrepreneurship. I'm going to share with you how I overcame loneliness within entrepreneurship. I'm going to share with you step by step exactly what I've done. Bear with me. The podcast, step one, building things before the podcast. I came out with an athletic apparel company, still have that. I have a videography business essentially, but I've minimized that in my life so that I can focus all on the podcast and my full-time job, which will be starting very shortly. What I did to overcome the loneliness when I was exclusively working for myself as an independent contractor for the local power company, but also working on the podcast for myself, really building my personal brand into what it is today, as it's still building. The beginning stages especially are incredibly lonely because you have no moral authority. People don't know what you're about. They don't even if they like or dislike you, they didn't even have a chance to like or discount you yet because you're essentially, your brand is nobody. It's nothing. It's being started up from scratch. It can be lonely. Here's how I beat that. I decided that I would not let myself become isolated any longer. I decided that I liked how my friend's life looked. I went out to visit my friend. He lives in a town about an hour away from here, college buddy of mine. We worked out. We spent the day together. He introduced me to the love of his life he's now married to. He and I had very similar backgrounds. We were both homeschooled, kind of dealt with some bullying, had this fighter mentality, very closed off, reserved to ourselves, very guarded. He's a boxer and a martial artist, so he took it to the next level and actually has been in multiple street fights, sent people to the hospital, this, that, and the third, and I'm telling you, this guy's a freaking animal. When I went to visit him, I knew all these things, so I knew I could respect and trust his judgment, because he's been similar to where I've been, and his story resonates with me so heavily. Having a fighter mentality, being guarded, not trusting people. Those of you who know me now don't know that until I was about 18, I'd never really lifted heavy weights. I was very much small for my grade level. I was actually short all the way up until 9th, 10th grade in high school. I was considered quite short for my age, 5 foot. I think like people now when they see me after I've lifted for 11 years and I've grown to be quite tall, people think, oh, you must have played football. Were you a wide receiver? Did you wrestle? Oh, you must weigh 200 plus pounds. And I'm like, no, I was small in high school. I was in track and field though. How I dealt with the loneliness. When I first started all these brands, I was new to an area, so it exacerbated the problem to the 10th exponent. Because look at it this way, if you relocate to a new area, that's one thing, but I had nobody here. I moved down here. I was in a relationship. That was the only person I knew, her and her family and close friends. And really it was just me and myself and I, and maybe the housemates that I moved in with, but we didn't really get along either. So I had literally no one except for my local small group. I got to tell you guys, it was a tough time, and I can look back at that time, and you have to understand that all the things you go through are developing courage within you. So each chapter, each season serves its purpose. And that season, for sure, that developed so much courage. And it wasn't until just a few months back that I had that word put into my mind of courage, that developed courage in me. I felt like God was telling me that season in your life, Jonathan, developed courage and boldness. And I am so grateful for it now that I look back. Jersey kid, I moved to North Carolina. This is considered the South. The area I'm in is very metropolitan. It's not rural by any means, but if you drive 20 minutes any direction, give or take, you will go driving into woods. So what's amazing to me, I had to come here, I had to find work, I had to settle in, I had to find my groove, I had to get connected. But even after being here for an entire year, the biggest thing I would say is get plugged in right away at a local community group so that you can be a part of serving the local community. That's huge. But then also, have a job, try to get work immediately where you'll be around other people. And that, if nothing else, tricks your mind into that belief that you are getting that reciprocity of relationship. So I had that bare minimum. So I wasn't depressed or anything, but I definitely was not happy. I wasn't thriving. I wasn't super excited to go see my buddies or see my friends and work out together or go out for a fun night together. Or that was my fault. The main reasons I'm sharing this episode is with you is because for those of you who are entrepreneurs who are actually making some serious money right now, maybe you have a family, you're actually doing quite well, but you still deal with some of that loneliness. I'm going to share with you what I've learned through doing over 100 interviews with entrepreneurs and 200 plus if you count the people who I've met doing door-to-door sales in the past. It was my fault. Would I change anything? I don't know. Maybe. I think maybe I would. You can put yourself out there, and the hardest thing to do when you're already new to an area, when you don't know anybody. And by the way, when I said I moved here for a relationship, we ended that relationship mutually within a few months of me moving here. That wasn't much time, in other words, for me to develop my own relationships outside of that. As you can imagine, too, with going towards the end of a relationship, it's kind of turbulent in anyone's case. I didn't have people who I could call. I didn't have anyone I could just call and be like, hey, I need to talk. Hey, this thing happened today. Something seriously bad happened, whatever. I didn't have those people. Though I did have people I could call for help, I didn't have friends at that truest level like that. And that's hard. That's really hard. I was able to grow a lot in my faith during that time. I had to get a lot of things weeded out of me, out of my soul over those years. But in particular, the isolation wasn't, looking back, genuinely, I can say it wasn't pride. It was confusion and misunderstanding of how to go about developing relationships. I was building brands. I was entrepreneurial. I was hustling on the weekends. I was making extra money. I was working Monday through Friday on top of all that. And this is before my podcast. And I had a YouTube channel. I was posting. There was a time where I made 50 plus YouTube videos every single day called The Hustle. Actually, it was kind of a prequel to this podcast in some senses. But looking back on those videos, it can be very invigorating for me, very motivating just to see how far I've come in such a short period of time. I just got off of an interview with my buddy Chase Tuning, who is the host and founder of Ever Forward Radio. And Chase and I were having a conversation. We were talking about how everything happens for a reason, and it's so important. Tactically speaking, what can I do? Jonathan, I'm lonely. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a businessman, a businesswoman, womanpreneur. I'm not going to say the word girl boss. I'm not going to do it. Nope, I won't do it. And I'm lonely. Even if you have a family, but you still feel that you don't have that camaraderie, like that brotherhood or sisterhood that you so long for in business yet. I would just say to you, be patient. I would say to you, tell people about it. Tell your partner, tell your loved one, tell your closest friends, your family. Let them know. Always be careful with vulnerability where you're letting people's opinions and words influence you. Whereas transparency is stuff that you're willing to share with virtually anyone. Once I started committing, I decided, I recorded in my mind, no, I will not give up. I will not. And I literally had the words press on come into my head. I remember, I will press on. And it was after I had gone out and tried again with another meetup group, essentially, really putting myself out there. I was trying hard. I was being so kind. I was shaking people's hands and tried to be intentional. And no one showed much of any reciprocity looking back. And I'm not saying that that's their fault or anyone's fault or that they should have. What I am saying is I could have let that stop me. I remember leaving that and being so frustrated, not only just with that circumstance, but with all of the previous attempts adding up before that, compounding, all of it coming to a head, and me realizing that This is so frustrating. Why can't I just connect with my tribe, with the people who think like me, who are entrepreneurial and proactive and committed to their goals and committed to the faith first and foremost? And why am I having so much trouble finding these people? But I decided that night, I was about to go to sleep. I remember I was sitting on the end of my bed like yesterday. I had one small light on, basically my night light that I used to read sometimes. And I was like, I will not give up. No. I made the decision. I literally said no. And I said, I will press on. I will press on. And as like dramatic as that may sound to you, if you're somebody who's got a huge friend base and you've always had that, trust me, if you've ever dealt with isolation or if you've ever dealt with moving to a new area that you did not grow up in, you are definitely seen as an outcast, or maybe not, but that's another thing. Don't consider yourself an outcast. That's kind of a lie you want to try to avoid. But you are seen as, you're alienated naturally just by the fact of you don't know if you fit in. Regardless of age, this is a human nature thing that we all deal with at all times. So just trust me, it's hard. And so if you're dealing with this, I get it. I've been there. I still feel that I kind of am pushing through it in my own life. It's a constant. Relationships, friendships. What really helped me was that decision, but then what came after that decision was further action, and that's when things started to click. I kept taking action. Have no shame in being hyper intentional as well. If you find people who you genuinely resonate with at a level that you know you could be long-term friends or business partners, go after that. Don't have shame about that. Try hard to get connected with them. Be the catalyst, be the person that invites places, build a friend base, build a group of people around you where the desired behavior that you want to see out of your life, that you want your life to yield, is being reflected and is the norm of that tribe, if you will, of that group behavior is the norm, so that you are lifted up along with lifting up others in that community. That's what I strive to do with this podcast. That's what I want the podcast Facebook community to do. And I hope that you guys feel that from me genuinely as your friend and the host of this show. I want you to know that you're not alone. That was the biggest thing for me starting this podcast. And genuinely, I can say to you why I'm so passionate as well about entrepreneurship and about getting out there, putting yourself out there, doing your own thing, is because it then forces you and gives you a bit of, at least maybe obscure and completely haphazard, but it gives you some sticks, some framework, some blueprint that you can then execute against. And in the process of that, there's an ROI along the way of building relationship. It's just life. If you don't build relationships while you're building a brand, what are you doing? You have to reach out to people. A big thing as well, let people make fun of you who are doing it in jest, who like you. Laugh at the jokes. Don't take things personally. I was always so guarded that I felt that I had to stand up for myself, and I wouldn't maybe always laugh at a joke. Even though it didn't hurt my feelings, I didn't accept it, and I didn't let it land, and it made the other people perhaps feel very uncomfortable or uneasy around me. Ask for help and let people help you. You have to be willing and open to receiving help from other people. Do not take advantage of people who are overly generous. However, let yourself ask for help of good people or your friend group when is necessary, and be upfront and clear about what you need help with. Tell them, I need a ride at this time. Can you give me a ride? If they say no, then they can't. No problem. Thanks for asking. When you don't let people help you, when you say no to people offering to assist you in helping you move, helping move is a perfect example for young adults. Let them help you, even if it's one box that you don't need their help with and you can do it yourself and you can get the door yourself. We get it, but let people help you. By the way, females listening to this, we get that you are capable, powerful, independent. That's beautiful. Guys love that. Trust me. But if you are single and you hate that you're single, a big pro tip for you, let people help you. That could be the missing link for you. And if you're getting resentful by me sharing that with you, address that mindset as well, because I'm sincerely just trying to help. Okay, you didn't ask for help. Moving on. Let people help you. That's huge. Just letting your friends help is absolutely huge, because what happens is it starts out with, hey, can I borrow this from you? Oh yeah, sure. Give it back to me in a week whenever you're done. Great, thanks. Gave it back. The next time as your friendship develops, you can go into something like, hey, I need a ride to the airport. Can you give me a ride? Sure, 15 minutes. I got you, bro. No. The asks increase over time, obviously in a healthy manner. You don't want it to be one-sided. Of course, they know you're going to be back and ask them of something as well, perhaps. It is a gift to them. It's not just you, and it's not weak. Don't think of it like that. Those are the biggest things. Press on, but first it goes decide that you will press on through the obnoxious experiences, through the adversity, through rude people that you meet, who you put yourself out there in every genuine capacity that you know possible, humanly possible for you, and you're developing your social skills, you're studying human dynamics, you're studying how to make others feel better because you genuinely want to connect with people and make people feel better. You want people to feel good. You want people to feel happier after their encounter with you, to feel uplifted and to feel, wow, I feel so elevated right now. Decide, press on after you decide, and then pressing on means taking action. Take the action necessary. Join Toastmasters. Join an improv class, which those are two things I'd love to do. Go do those things. Alone. Oh my gosh, really? Yes, alone. Go do it. Go put yourself out there. Try things. You know how many things I've done alone? I've gone to restaurants alone. I've gone to events, multiple events alone. And other people who also are in your boat, then you know how much rapport there is immediately when you say, oh, who'd you come with? And it's like, oh, I'm here by myself as well. And you're just like, wow, we're instantly buddies, because we're both putting ourselves out there, going out there to meet the people. This is a episode about isolation and alienation of entrepreneurship. I'm not telling you how to live your life or how to have friends. These ideas worked for me. I hope that by me sharing these on this episode, it can solidify these behaviors in my own mind, but also encourage people who may be dealing with loneliness or isolation or perceived alienation of entrepreneurship and being very proactive. Many peers of our age, by the late 20s to 30s, typically people start to fade out of that going out every other night drinking and into a more mature stage of, hey, I need to read this book and get my finances straight. And there's no shame in being ahead of that curve. I know how to have fun, but I don't go out all the time. I don't drink. There's nothing wrong with you. So stay strong, press on, keep putting yourself out there, find the events, find the things that resonate with you and who you are. Be willing to grow and learn. This is not an episode about how to live your life. It is because, you're only going to go around people who are like-minded and have similar interests. How one-sided of you or how close-minded of you. In fact, that's not the point. Perhaps I didn't communicate it clear enough. My point is, this episode is to speak to people who are business owners or entrepreneurs or very proactive young professionals who are dealing with alienation because their peers or their friend group from college, whatever it is, they no longer align with your life values or you've developed values ahead of the curve or you move to a new area. When you move to a new area as a young pro, I want to just give you the biggest hug that I could possibly give you because you are a champ. You know how many people are horrified to even leave their hometown? Come on, so many people. And if they leave their hometown, they'll move to a town 20 minutes away, and that's as far as they go for the rest of their life. If you've relocated to a new state, I would give you the biggest Jonathan hug I could possibly give you and just give you props. I acknowledge you for that. That takes so much courage. Stay strong. Keep putting yourself out there. Don't be ashamed of the fact that you are unwavering in your goals and honoring your values. At the end of the day, yes, be open-minded. Learn from people who believe differently from you. Respect everyone. But in terms of finding connection, find situations, circumstances, and individuals who, when you are present in that circumstance or event or activity space, you look over to your left shoulder, your eyes connect with this person, and you both say, oh, you too? That's a big thing with friendship. It has to be something where you both are like, oh, you too? Oh, I'm not in this alone. Okay, you too? Then continue putting yourself out there. Continue opening up progressively, slowly but surely. Be open with people. Ask them about themselves. Be curious, always learning, and you will find yourself surrounded with a healthy, thriving friend group that is similar in their life pursuits, similar in goals and values that they follow in their life. Big thing like religious organizations, like for me, I'm a person of faith, so my church has been very helpful in this. There's a good, strong young adult ministry. The gym is a big one for me. I've met multiple friends locally at the gym. Not everyone who goes to the gym is just a meathead. A lot of people go there just to get their health on point. You can find so many cool, interesting people wherever you go. So I just want to give you props. I want to say, I'm your friend. I'm with you. Keep tuning into this and keep pressing on. Keep putting yourself out there. Always be willing to learn and adapt. Don't get it twisted. When I say press on, I don't mean press on with your habits and routines that are not serving you at all and hurting you and harming you and isolating you. I'm saying press on in your efforts to gain connection and friendship. It is possible. Don't see yourself as an outcast. You are not, and you are not alone. As always, live wide open, Godspeed.
Fearless.